Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Welcome to the Just Chatting Gaming News and Trailers for July 26th. We got a pretty big lead story today. A couple other stories, a couple trailers. So let's get right into it. For the big story of the day, when this announcement happened at PlayStation, it's something that I knew was going to happen, but I was also very concerned because this company has zero track record for making a big AAA game all on their own. This studio is known for doing ports, and they're very good at doing ports. But when they announced that they were doing this big game, everybody's just like, all right, well, we'll see what happens. But again, you have no track record. So for those who didn't hear the news, as being reported by Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake is indefinitely delayed. Bloomberg has learned that developer Asper has fired 2 of the directors this month and told staff the project is on pause as it tries to figure out what comes next. What's crazy about this is on Twitter, I follow a lot of developers, and I feel like there's been a lot of people in the circle, so to speak, who have like quit their position and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm now working at Asper on the Old Republic remake." So, and I'm pretty sure some of them people have been developers. And so, yeah, I'm very curious as to what is going on there. It's very, very interesting. Now, here recently, we also have the story of Charles Boyd leaving BioWare. And one of the so-called rumors out there was that Charles was leaving BioWare and the SWTOR team to go to Asper to work on this game. And maybe that's exactly what's going to happen. It could be that maybe something was going on and they fired those directors and they somehow enticed Charles to come over to help run this project. Maybe that's actually going to happen. I still think Charles is going somewhere else. We're going to find out here in about a week and a half when he announces it. But yeah, just crazy. So it's like out of all the big Star Wars games that have been announced, which as of the recording of this video, there's currently 8 in development. I think this one's now last one coming out. It's like if this one's not last, it could be Eclipse's last, but this one is years away at this point. So pretty crazy. Pretty crazy story. Next up for a couple rapid fire stories. Lord of the Rings Gollum, the game that nobody asked for, has also announced a delay with no date. This game was actually scheduled to come out here in the next couple months, and they just, they're not ready to go. So usually when they push a delay like this, they'll at least say like spring 2023 or maybe February 2023 or give some kind of indication, but no, nothing. But that's a weird game. It's like when you have the Lord of the Rings IP and you can do anything with it, why are you making a game on Gollum? I don't get it. I don't. Next story, and this kind of ties into the first story a little bit. Over the last couple of years, we have seen a lot of developers from either BioWare or EA leave, and so many of them have been making new companies. Well, we have another one where Christian Daly announced today that he's very excited that they've started a new AAA game studio with some amazing folks over at Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, and he is now the GM of Skeleton Key Games. So yeah, if they're working with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, as I was mentioning earlier before the recording, could be working on some more D&D stuff for some of their other franchise like Transformers, G.I. Joe, or whatever. So yeah, we'll have to see what comes out of Skeleton Key now. So pretty interesting stuff. Next up, you guys remember that Roller Champions game from Ubisoft? It's not doing so hot. And they went ahead and they released a statement. And as part of that, it says, hello champions, let's clear it out of the way first. Roller Champions isn't getting canceled, and Ubisoft fully supports it. To me, Ubisoft is so hit and miss with their games. More miss than hits. But it seems like whenever Ubisoft tries to do any kind of multiplayer, PvP, anything, it does not go well for them. And they have tried so many different things. They just can't get anything to work. So yeah, they released Roller Champions and nobody's playing it, and it's just like... So I guess there must have been a bunch of rumors out there, people saying, well, nobody's playing it, I guess they're going to shut it down, and they're like, nope, we're not shutting it down. We'll see. We'll see, though. And final news story. This is in the rumor mill, but it has a lot of base behind it. And that is Jeff Grubb, who is a very well-known industry insider, announced that he has information on a single-player-focused AAA Black Panther game from EA Monolith. But yeah, a single-player, open-world Black Panther game in development at EA. I mean, there's a lot of Marvel games being made right now. I mean, honestly, I'm even surprised that EA would want to do that, because it does, like, big IPs traditionally is something that EA has not wanted to do. That's why they held the Star Wars license for so long and never made a game, because they didn't want to do it. And that's kind of a long story where the Star Wars EA contract was signed under essentially like one GM. That GM left, and then Andrew Wilson took over, and he didn't want nothing to do with it. But like I said, that's another story for another time. But yeah, so EA's making a Black Panther game, so yeah, it's too bad that it's not Respawn, but Respawn's making like 5 games right now, so they're busy enough as it is. Hopefully it's good though. Insomniac kinda has the corner right now for good Marvel games, and they're making another Spider-Man and a Wolverine game, so we'll see how well that turns out. All right, we have 3 trailers, and 2 of them are for Marvel's Midnight Suns. So we'll probably get through this here pretty quick. Actually, the Marvel ones are a little lengthy, but... So, for those who don't know, Multiverses launched today. This is the WB free-to-play Smash Brothers game, and they announced another new character coming to the game. And I know Spice Lord is a massive NBA fan. And so when Spice Lord plays Multiverses, I'm pretty sure he's going to play this character. Let's take a look.
Time for the main event. Let's get it.
Can't dunk this for dunk.
Batman and LeBron? Sounds good to me.
Because, you know, LeBron can easily beat Batman.
What zoinks? What a matchup.
Take that. Showtime. Up, up, up. Boom!
I do want to try this game.
Block him, buddy.
That's gonna hurt in the morning.
I got you, bug.
I'm thinking Arya Stark might be my main. But we'll see.
Next.
Let's do this again, bud.
Hey, that's a Space Jam reference right there. Open beta, early access. Play it day one on Game Pass, but not really. All right, for Marvel's Midnight Suns, we have a gameplay showcase for Captain America and Iron Man. We'll start with Captain America. Let's take a look.
Hey everybody, Christopher Odd here, and I'm thrilled to announce a new recurring video series starting today. Working with 2K and Marvel, I'll be showcasing characters from Firaxis Studios' Marvel's Midnight Suns from now until the release of the game. There will be a few surprises along the way, so if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to be notified of each new video as they become available. Now, it's no coincidence that today's video is released on the week of American Independence Day. And what better way to commemorate this holiday
Lilith,
week for the
what are you
Americans
doing
watching than showcasing one of the most popular
old Venom
Avengers ever. Hailing from Brooklyn, New York, specializing in agility, strength, speed, endurance, and reaction time, and carrying a shield made of Wakandan vibranium, the first superhero to showcase is none other than Steven Rogers, aka Captain America.
Hey, I'm Steve.
As you might imagine, Captain America's playstyle revolves almost entirely around the use of his shield. And what do shields do best? They block. But that's not to say that Captain America is a purely defensive
Did I say
hero.
Captain Marvel?
Quite the opposite, in fact. He's capable of dealing immense amounts of damage by generating
If so, I meant
block
Captain America.
and unleashing that on his enemies. More on this later. One of his abilities, called the Best Defense, sees the Captain gaining block equal to his damage dealt for 2 turns.
His shield is on
Adding
fire.
one of his taunt abilities, and you've got a tanky, aggro-drawing, serum-induced super soldier who bravely keeps his friends safe by quite literally blocking bullets for them.
Oh, so he's literally a
Throughout
tank.
the game, you'll have opportunities to develop friendships with fellow superheroes. Attaining higher levels of friendship will have huge implications on the battlefield. Known, of course, for undying loyalty and incredible leadership, it should be no surprise that Captain America would gain passives reflecting these qualities as he becomes closer to our own superhero, the Hunter.
What destiny is that?
Keep playing it straight with me, Hunter, and maybe I'll trust you enough one day to tell
When
you.
reaching friendship level 1, Mr. Rogers will start each combat with some block already in place, and at level 2, not only does he start each fight with block, but he'll continue to gain block after every turn. He's definitely worthy of developing a solid friendship with, especially if you're a glass cannon who needs the protection of someone who always puts his friends first. Now, have you ever wondered what would happen if you were hit directly in the chest by a 12-pound concave disc 2.5 feet in diameter? No? Weird. Well, guess what? It's gonna move you. Using the Brooklyn Handshake attack, Captain America will be sending
The
enemies
Brooklyn
flying
Handshake.
with knockback. In addition, if the target was already damaged this turn, that knockback turns forceful, and the distance at which enemies can be flung becomes considerably farther, allowing for more
I was going to
potent
say, can you
combat
knock him off a
combos.
cliff?
Throughout the course of the game, the Brooklyn Handshake can be upgraded to allow for more card draw, and the ability to apply Marked, making it extremely powerful as you face stronger enemies. Until now, we've only covered basic attacks and skills. Let's talk some heroics.
AoE.
Heroics are the most devastating cards in your arsenal, and most of the combat planning should revolve around building heroism to play these. Named after the sound effects his shield makes on impact, Spang does heaps of damage to enemies that are targeting Captain America directly. If you invest in upgrading Spang, you'll be able to encourage card drawing and a reduced heroism cost. Now, harkening back to my earlier tease, Captain America can eventually gain access to a special Midnight Suns card titled Shield Charge. In addition to being his most expensive heroic ability, it's also his most satisfying. Remember all that block that you've been building up during combat? Time to put that to devastating use. After all, Steve Rogers can only be just a kid from Brooklyn for so long. When Shield Charge is cast, Captain America will consume all of
three
his
of 'em.
current block to deal that amount in damage to every enemy in a line. On upgrade, Shield Charge will also grant you a card draw for each enemy hit, and can even add a chance for those targets to become marked, making them ideal targets to follow up on. I hope you've enjoyed this quick showcase of Captain America.
Cool.
Remember to subscribe to the channel because we'll be continuing.
Hold on a second.
Enjoyed this quick showcase of Captain America.
All right, so you've got the Hunter up front here. You got Ghost Rider to the side. You got Blade in the back. To the left is Magic. Who the heck is the one on the far right here?
Remember to subscribe.
Spider-Man. Yeah, who's this hero on the far right? It's one of them weird ones that I don't know. Could be an Inhuman. JT will probably tell me here in a second. Oh, the sword wielder's Magic? Oh, well, here's the one with the staff on the left side then. I thought Magic always had the staff. Because I'm trying to remember all the playable characters. Let's see here real quick. Marvel Midnight Sun Heroes. Let's see here. Oh, is that Nico? It's gotta be, because that's the only name here that I don't know who it is. It's like Nico or Nico. That's who it is? Ah. Yeah, I don't know that character. All right.
Subscribe to the channel because we'll be continuing to showcase superheroes from Marvel's Midnight.
Thank you. All right, next up we got Iron Man. Let's take a look.
Hey everybody, Christopher Rod here, and welcome back to the next installment of the Marvel's Midnight Sun Superhero Showcase that I'm creating in partnership with Marvel and 2K. In our first video, we talked about the always brave, always humble Captain America. We know him, we love him. Keeping with those obviously similar character traits, I think it's only fitting that we now look to Cap's best frenemy, Mr. Tony Stark, aka
Iron Man.
the also totally humble, kind, genius, billionaire philanthropist guy. You may have heard of him. In Marvel's Midnight Suns, Iron Man's playstyle revolves around one of the game's mechanics called redraw. So in combat, your turn is comprised of 3 card plays, 2 redraws, and 1 move. Using redraw allows you to get rid of a card that you don't currently need in hopes of getting one that you do. However, Iron Man has a habit of making himself the center of attention. You may have noticed this previously. Many of his cards get buffed in your hand when you choose to use one of your redraws on them. As a result, he's basically a jack of all trades, but he masters them all too. Area damage, direct damage, support, defense. The man can blast anything, and on a personal aside, he's also a blast to play with. So when asking yourself, is this a mission for Iron Man? You'll almost always be able to justify having him in your squad. You do have to keep his redraw mechanics in mind though, because to utilize his powers effectively, you want your precious redraws to be consumed for Iron Man's benefit.
Hope Hydra has good insurance.
Now, if he's paired with allies that rely on using a lot of heroic abilities, you may find that your hand gets clogged with expensive heroics that you can't play because you're using all of your redraws on Iron Man cards, so plan accordingly.
I hope you are building one of those suits for me.
Maybe instead of asking yourself the question, is this a mission for Iron Man, to which the answer is almost always going to be yes, you should be asking yourself, who can I bring to support our handsome, rich, iconic Robo-Man instead? One of Iron Man's skill cards that I would consider core to his deck is the aptly titled Leave It to Me. Now, playing this will not only draw 2 Iron Man cards, but it will also generate extra heroism and grant extra redraws. On upgrade, this card increases in power pretty dramatically by adding 2 fast, and then one of the potential late game mods that you could run into would be the ability to add resist. Soon enough, your hand's gonna be full of Iron Man cards, just the way that Tony would like it, but to be fair, you're gonna like it too. So now you've got yourself a handful of Iron Man cards, and you want to be able to generate even more redraws so you can buff them up. Well, if you spend your time developing your friendship with Tony, which isn't always easy, the payoff will definitely help. His passive ability titled I'll Handle This will grant you an extra redraw if you play 3 Iron Man cards in a turn, and the higher level friendship version of this lowers that requirement to only 2. So by now, you're probably seeing Iron Man...
Wait. I got a question. Okay, so you only get so many points. So many points per round. So you can see on the cards here, like whip is a 0. So that means it's a 0 cost card. There's one in the middle that's a 1, so it's a 1 cost card. But there's some other cards there that have like 2 swords and a shield. What does that mean? Those cards have like no play cost.
On his own, and he has his own self-fulfilling synergies too. And this is without even talking about some of the damaging skills, so let's get into that.
It really is a great way to stay in shape.
One of his heroics is called
So like you can see here over on the far right side, or actually no, that's the here, or no. So it means that he's got 4 points to spend on playing cards. So like here, the surgical strike costs 2, and then he could play this other 2. That's his 4 points, and so that would be his turn. He also has 1 card that's 4, so I'm assuming it's you would play that 1 card and then you're done. But yeah, some of these other ones have no like cost. And I don't think they've explained the redraw mechanic. They've talked about it, but I don't know if they've actually said what that means. Like, as someone who's played other card games, I know what it means in other card games, but maybe it's different in this one?
surgical strike.
Even though technically this game's not a card game. It's a little weird.
And that's going to let you chain together a number of attacks based on how close the enemies are in relation to each other. The number is based on the amount of Iron Man.
Also, I just noticed, I'm covering it up so you guys can't see it. There's a button for photo mode. So that's cool.
Cards that you have in your hand at the time. Now, earlier we talked about potentially having a clogged hand, but if your hand is clogged with Iron Man cards, then Surgical Strike is going to absolutely crush. Not all clogs are alike, my friend. It's not uncommon to be able to chain 5+ attacks if you play your cards right. And when you invest in upgrading Surgical Strike, you can reduce the heroism cost, and one of the potential late game upgrades could add a chance to apply Vulnerable. Now, if chaining enemies isn't tickling your metal, then maybe air superiority will put a dent in your suit. Okay, I'm done. Why have a limit to the number of enemies you hit when you can just damage them all? Air superiority not only looks stunning, but it can absolutely clear a battlefield if handled correctly. Now, before you play air superiority, you may want to use some of your redraws on it, because each time you do, you're going to add 10 damage. And upgrades on this card are well worth it as well. The first upgrade lets you more than double the base damage, and one of the potential late game upgrades could apply a mark to every remaining Hydra, setting up future free card plays really nicely. Now let's finish this up by showcasing Stark's incredible Midnight Suns card called Hellfire Beam. Utilizing the weapon that's closest to his heart, the Iron Knight shoots a beam of hellfire straight from his chest that hits all enemies in a line.
Dang.
And while the redraw on Hellfire Beam is similar in nature to air superiority, there's seemingly no limit to how many times you can redraw to buff it, whereas air superiority does have a cap.
Time out.
So if you have leftover redraw is similar in nature to air superiority, utilizing the weapon that's closest to his heart, the Iron Knight shoots a beam of hellfire that hits all enemies in a line.
I want to take a look at this, what he's doing right here. So he's hitting R on the card, and over here, R is the redraw. So wait, what is that? What is redraw doing to this card? This is what I want to see. So that one I couldn't say. So it says 1 redraw plus 2. So he's hitting it. So you can see the R popping up, and then redraw. So it's a 3, it's a 75. So 3, 75, 25. Oh, it's buffing the damage. So now it's 3,125. But I wonder if this is a UI bug. So it said 0 redraws plus 2. But it was still a 0. He did it again, and now it's a 0 redraws plus 1. And he's doing it again. Now it's 0 redraws, nothing. So redraws, all it does is buff a card. I don't know if I like that terminology. I think that terminology is confusing. Why call it redraws? Why not just call it buff or something else?
Buff it, whereas air superiority does have a cap. So if you have leftover redraws available at the end of your turn, not sure what else to do, slam it into Hellfire Beam because it's going to become insanely powerful.
Or power up, yeah.
At its second level upgrade, each knockout grants an extra redraw, which continues to pump up Iron Man's cards. And one of the potential late game upgrades can add a chance to apply Marked. All of this at a lower heroism cost than air superiority, and I mean, just look at it. Visually, one of my favorite skills on the entire roster. So, as you can see, Iron Man is a flashy guy with a flashy suit and a flashy deck to match. It's all just a rather very intelligent system that works extremely well on its own, but at the end of the day, he's only one man in a suit. He is going to need the help of some friends to defeat Lilith in the ultimate battle to save the world. One of those closest friends will be coming up in a showcase soon, so if you're not already subscribed to the channel, now would be a good time to do so. We'll have all these videos in a playlist, so come back anytime and catch up on any videos you may have missed or rewatch them or anything you like. We're fine, we're cool, everyone is easy. Remember to check out the links down below for all things Marvel's Midnight Suns, and thank you so much to Marvel's Midnight Suns for working with me on this series. We will see you in the next one.
You know what, chat? I actually forgot there's one more of these videos.
You want to know who am I?
There's actually one more of these videos. We watched it, I'm just looking here real fast. It's gonna be this one.
Christopher Rod here again with another super...
Anyway, I was interrupting myself. We watched this one like on Sunday when I wasn't recording. I was streaming, but I wasn't recording for YouTube. So let's we're gonna watch one more, and then it looks like tomorrow might be Doctor Strange.
Hey everybody, Christopher Rod here again with
So the next time I do a news video, we'll have like 2 or 3 more lined up.
another superhero deep dive for Marvel's Midnight Suns. Thanks again to Marvel, Firaxis, and 2K for working with me on this series. It's honestly been a blast so far, and reading all of your comments and questions has actually been better than the time I found out that Aunt May almost married Dr. Octopus in the comics. Had no idea. Yeah, that's real. Super fun fact. If your spidey senses have been tingling since you saw the thumbnail of this video, you might want to get that checked. Unless, of course, you've just been bitten by a radioactive spider, in which case, just brace for your incoming superpowers. This is going to be a fun one. I'm excited to show you what your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is truly capable of. Let's talk playstyle first. True to his nature, Spider-Man is really fast-paced, but how does that manifest in a card game exactly? Well, in addition to having a bunch of quick or free abilities, he really excels at just whipping around and using the environment much more than other heroes on the roster. In addition to generally doing more environmental damage than the other heroes, he has some great tools to boost his ability to do a lot more with less. So the first card I want to bring to your attention...
So question for chat, for those of you who are going to play this, do you know who your main team is going to be?
...is called Opportunist. It's important to understand that in Marvel's Midnight Suns, the heroism that you're building up isn't just consumed by playing heroic cards, it's also used by your squad to interact with the environment. However, Peter has a few tricks in his web to swing around this. After playing Opportunist, Spider-Man can use 2 environmental attacks without using any heroism at all, And then he's also granted 2 extra moves on the turn to set up his positioning correctly. On upgrade, Opportunist will boost the amount of damage dealt via these environmental attacks, and one of the late game mods you could run into would even draw the most recent attack card you played. I can't think of many skill cards available to Peter that you'd want to replace Opportunist with. It's just that good, and I would consider it very core to almost all of his decks. Now, it should be no surprise that the Amazing Spider-Man also has an amazing passive ability. If you've been fortunate enough to spend quality time with Peter Parker, you can unlock his passive ability called Bring Down the House. Now, in true Firaxis fashion, you'll have a 15% chance for environment attacks to refund their heroism cost. That might not seem like much, but if you're using Spidey effectively, that's likely to trigger once or twice in any given combat scenario. More if you're lucky, less if you're not. His level 2 passive is a huge upgrade, though. It's like going from a cobweb, which is still effective, albeit a bit dusty, to a brand spanking newly created web that's still being maintained by your best multi-legged buddy.
Oh, thanks, Blade. Where did your shades go?
Instead of just the 15% refund chance, it makes the first environment attack each encounter a guaranteed freebie. Now, you may have noticed by now that while Spider-Man is great with the environment, he might be lacking a little bit in the damage department. At his core, he's great at dealing with minions and finishing off weakened enemies, but what if we need more damage out of Mr. Parker? Well, I gotcha. We can play Web Slinger. Web Slinger is not only a free card play, but it grants Strengthen, giving Peter a more powerful punch for the remainder of the turn. And it's well worth upgrading because instead of becoming exhausted, the card will be able to be replayed multiple times during combat. Now, one of Spider-Man's heroic cards, Web Throw, actually accomplishes quite a few things with only one card play. Not only are you going to get a forceful knockback, sending people twice as far and dealing twice the amount of impact damage as a regular knockback would, but you'll also be able to cast it in any direction regardless of where Spidey is standing. We're not done yet, though, because enemies near the initial targeting point will also take damage, making this a pseudo AoE attack that's having an impact on multiple parts of the combat arena. Now, if you invest in upgrading Web Throw, you'll double its damage, and one of the potential late game mods could see this applying marked as well. It was once said that with great power comes great responsibility. And there is some debate as to how that was said. I'll leave that up to you guys. I'm pretty sure they said this in reference to Spider-Man's Midnight Sun's heroic ability. It's called Infernal Spider. This one is so powerful that it needs to have exhaust. Your timing needs to be on for this, but when it is, game over Hydra. Infernal Spider sees Peter taken to the air, taking his true form, and when he lands, the next 3 Spider-Man cards played become free and won't use up any card plays. When upgraded, you'll also draw an extra Spider-Man card, making Infernal Spider viable in a lot more scenarios. And a potential late game mod brings back a familiar mechanic from our previous showcase, Redraw, which in this instance adds block to our Spider friend. To web things up nicely here, Spider-Man will best fit into squads that have other ways of dealing damage to tankier enemies, but his basic abilities that change
I really hope
environment,
that
take advantage of quick and free card plays, gives
I really hope that you'll be able to customize the heck out of the Hunter. For those who don't know, the Hunter is your character. There is male-female option, there is like the full character creator and all that, but as far as like the Hunter's move set, I hope you can like customize that.
him a ton of utility. He's even got some battlefield control going on with his super awesome whip ability. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to both the Marvel's Midnight Suns channel and my personal channel, which will include a ton of Midnight Suns content, including a full play.
Yeah, I think this game looks great. Out of all the games that are coming out this fall, this one is like my most highly anticipated game. The game that's kind of in the number 2 spot for me right now is Hogwarts Legacy, but that game doesn't have a release date. It could get pushed. But I'm a huge fan of Firaxis and XCOM, and this game just looks right up my alley. There's been so many great Marvel games over the last few years, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. It looks great. All right, for those who are watching on YouTube, that'll go ahead and do it. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.